Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again. Yes, it is podcast time. Man, we got a loaded show for you today. And as you guys and gals that are watching live, first of all, I want to thank you for watching this horrible show live. But we try our best. And we like to have a lot of fun. And we have 2Ks.
Yeah.
We got a guest.
We do
have a guest.
I happen to be related to this guest.
Oh, boy.
Oh, you're actually claiming him?
Yeah, I'll claim him, even though that shit he's got on his shirt over there.
We have Mr. Brandon Kaler in the building with us. We are going to talk about some college football. And even though both him and I are Notre Dame fans, we're going to put our bias aside, and we're going to talk about the full college landscape tonight, and as well as whatever else pops up. For those of you that are watching on Facebook and YouTube, thank you for watching us. If you are not on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell so you can be notified every time we go live. And if you guys are on YouTube or are on Facebook, head over to YouTube. The experience is a lot better over there. Because if you do comment, I can see your face, I can see your profile, and I can actually see who you are. So head on over there. And for the folks that are probably our biggest fans, 2Ks, is the podcast listeners. And our downloads kill our live stream numbers. So thank you for all of you that put us on, spend time wherever you are, whenever you are, and thank you for having us. But yes, it is that in 2Ks. We've got a sponsorship read right here.
Yeah,
we got a sponsorship read.
I saw that.
We got a sponsorship read. It's not from Zen. It's not from Blue Moon. It's not, but it is from Patch and Remington.
There we go.
Patch and Remington. It is the Paxton Spangler Band live jazz Saturday, November 11th, 6 to 10. Man, live jazz. Who wouldn't love live jazz?
Good stuff.
If you've never experienced live jazz, I've played live jazz. There is nothing more entertaining than actually playing. So enjoying it, if that's your bag, would be completely awesome. Like I said, Saturday, November 11th, 6 to 10, right here at Patch and Remington. It's $50 a ticket. That includes music, 2 drink tickets, alcoholic and non-alcoholic options available. Tickets will go to support ongoing programming for all ages, available for purchase via online, phone, or at Patch and Remington here itself. Limit of 30 tickets available. That is Paxton Spangler Band live jazz Saturday, November 11th, 6 to 10. $50. $50. And to be honest with you, if you try to go to the movies, you're easily going to spend $50. So why not come out and support a good cause and see something live? I mean, granted, you could go see the Taylor Swift movie. Which for those people that showed out to the Taylor Swift movie and showed up with the Travis Kelce cutout, kudos to you. I love each and every one of you. We have someone says they're here. Who is it? Well, like I said, it's easier if you go to the Andrew, what's up, brother? What's up, man? What's up? For those of you that are watching us live, give us any questions about the college football landscape. And I did reach out earlier this week via the Turbo and 2Ks group. So if you are in the group, or if you're not, Facebook.com/Turbo and 2Ks, or Facebook.com/groups/Turbo and 2Ks. So, gentlemen, how about we start out with that? Because there was some actually good head-scratching questions here, aside from the picture of the Phillies pitcher that looks like Nicolas Cage. But let's start out, Brandon, because you were actually active on this thread. So let's hear it. Actually, no, 2Ks. Let's start with you, because I'm going to rip on Brandon before we even get him into this conversation. Why? Because that's what we do. That's what we do. If we didn't love you, we wouldn't make fun of you. So someone it was actually Brenda, says, who do you think would be a spoiler team to disrupt the standings? Brandon said Washington or Oregon. Now, very, very valid teams. I'm not picking on you about that one. But usually kind of a sleeper team is usually someone that's out of like the top 5 or top 6. Yeah. So that's kind of where I was going at it. So 2K's your, I guess, sleeper teams, if you will.
My biggest sleeper team to me is obvious. I look at the Big Ten and everybody talks about Michigan and Ohio State. And let's not forget about Penn State.
Yeah.
Because we're going to see that this next weekend when Ohio State and Penn State square off. And then also later in the season when Michigan plays them, they have to go there to Penn State and play that game. Now, it is a noon game. It's not going to be an under the lights whiteout like we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
But to me, they're a team that nobody's talking about. And if the season ends and they win the Big Ten outright and end up in the playoff, they're undefeated right now and they haven't looked flawed one bit. So they are a team that I think everybody's sleeping on that could ruin everybody's party in that Big Ten.
And they start out this weekend with Ohio State. Now, I was talking to a couple very avid Michigan fans earlier today, and I asked them, I said, well, why wouldn't they just flex that game to 7:30? And they're like, well,
they want it.
Well, Michigan fans do not want that at all. They do not want that at all, because whiteout at Penn State is one of the most electrifying environments you'll ever see. Me personally,
they're not going to change it, though, because at the beginning, that was one of the Fox games,
the
noon Fox games at the beginning of the season that was already locked in place, just like similar to the Michigan-Ohio State game. That game's always played at noon, but it's already penciled into on Fox, and that's the same thing that happened here. When I saw that, though, at the beginning of the year, I'm not going to lie, I'm very happy. I don't want to play Penn State at a night game. As cool as it looks, I like watching other teams have to go there and play at night games, not Michigan.
So, Brandon, let's talk about, I mean, obviously your two teams played this week.
Yes.
Hell of a game.
Oh, yes, it was.
Hell of a game. And in my opinion, was kind of mismanaged. But again, talk to some actual football coaches. They're like, this is kind of where everything's going. You know, the whole Brandon Staley Chargers mentality, go for it, be aggressive. My only thing about that is when you're in the NFL, you have a little bit more leeway, a little bit more leverage in order to do that. Where in college football, especially playing a conference opponent, that can be real detrimental.
Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts on that?
It was, like I said, the game ended up being a hell of a game. I mean, offensive-wise, I didn't get to watch it much of any of it because I was in the parking lot at Notre Dame getting ready to go into the stadium, but...
Bougie.
It was. It was. But, yeah, it's just... I mean, what can you want if you buy a ticket for that game? Two offensive juggernauts going back and forth. I mean, no one leaves disappointed. No. Unless the losing side, they leave disappointed because this is a hit to their playoff chances. But who can say Oregon can't run the table and stay competitive and make a run at the very end?
And Oregon has a pretty complicated road to it.
Yes.
You know, just the same as Washington does.
Absolutely.
It's like the Pac-12 said, you know what, we're done, but yet we're gonna have the best season we've ever fucking had.
Exactly.
Like Bill Walton is in the closet jerking off somewhere, looking at the Conference of Champions, because he says that year in and year out, and finally he might be onto something.
On the last year, because his Conference of Champions is gone after this year.
Now it's just the Pac-2 right now. So.
No, but we talked about it last week, though, just with, I'm going to kind of put both of these coaches on blast a little bit from last night. We talked about it, though, as far as, are some of these teams too aggressive now? I understand that this is what, football coaches are going to say. This is kind of the new trend. This is what teams are doing. They're obviously looking at the numbers. They're playing the statistics, and they're going for it in situations. But to me, it's just getting so fucking far out of hand. And some of the shit last night, I mean, I look at Washington with 8-9 minutes to go in the game, and they go for it down inside, and it's like, kick a field goal there, because worst case scenario, Oregon goes down and scores, they're only going to be up by 8. So it's still a one-possession game. Exactly. You kick the field goal, though, and now you you can win the game with a field goal. And so, and they ended up getting the first down, and then turned it off, weren't able to punch it in, and ended up turning the ball over on downs inside their 5 or something like that. And then on the other end, Oregon, they have a chance. I mean, this game is in the 30s. I can understand doing this if you have a game where it's in the low 20s. It's in the, somewhere in the 20s where defenses have been able to make stops and get off the field. But last night, with those offenses, it's hard to get off the field. But so you're going to turn the ball over and give the ball to Washington at the 50-yard line instead of punting it and making them. You have to make them go the length of the field. These defenses aren't going to hold up. Fourth quarter, their defenses are tired. They've been chasing these offenses all game, and you give them a short field. To me, Lanning gave Washington just a fucking gift. And the sad thing is, they had a 40-some-yard field goal to send that game to overtime and fucking botched it.
Yeah,
but
and they gave them basically 6 points.
Yeah, I think it's across the board. Just some of the just watching them. I mean, I get it. Coaches are saying that this is the new thing, but to me it's sloppy football. It's sloppy coaching, and I think because all the coaches are doing it now, they're starting to get away with it. But the concept of putting points on the board, especially early in fourth quarters or earlier in the game, even in the third quarter, or keeping momentum, it's completely went out the door. And I just don't think it's good football coaching. And the only reason that it can be explained right now is because multiple coaches are making these poor decisions.
Yeah, and I honestly, I was watching that the Washington-Oregon game, and I'm like, okay, 3 points is better than no points, and that's something that Kyle and I have talked about endlessly on this podcast. There's so many, and normally we're talking about Brandon Staley. And
he kind of the one that started it all.
Well, yeah, and honestly, when you talk about dollars and cents and everything else, he has the most to lose out of this. I mean, you look at Oregon's coach. I guarantee Brandon Staley makes way more money per year than he does, and probably has a way shorter leash. I mean, let's be honest. And especially with a quarterback like Justin Herbert, are you wasting Justin Herbert? Are you wasting him in his prime? What the hell's the matter with you? This team is on and on and on. So we've talked about this, and there's so many people that are like, well, 6 points is more than 3. Well, you know what, motherfucker? 3 points are better than none.
Yeah, exactly. And momentum. I mean, you kick a field goal, and it's not. I mean, obviously the touchdown is going to build more momentum, but at least you get something out of it. When you allow a defense to turn you over on downs and have that stand against you, and then the offense swings it and puts 6-7 points on the board, you talk about a huge shift in momentum. I mean, that changes an entire game. So. And like, look, I don't have as big of an issue in situations where you have like a 4th and 1 to go.
Yeah.
But what we're watching, 4th and 5, 4th and 6, like there's not a whole lot of for sure plays that you can run in that situation that are going to pick up a first down. And I think it's been very watching football. I mean, college and in the pros, it's just been some very careless coaching decisions in my opinion.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts, Brandon?
I agree 100%. It's like you never leave a single point on the field. Points are points. 3, 6, 7, 8. They're all points. They all add up, and that's you don't want to leave a single point on the field. If you can take the sure 3, hopefully you get the sure 3. I mean, 3 points. We've seen how many games were decided by 3 points. I mean, the Ohio State Notre Dame game was 3 points. If Notre Dame would have made that 40+ yard field goal, dead center. We have a tie game. We have a tie game, folks.
And especially in a conference game.
Exactly.
And I think that's lost kind of on a lot of people. Well, let's check in here on our chat here. Andrew says, I wasn't able to watch much football this weekend. I was at my daughter's last volleyball tournament. Hopefully she did well. But I did catch the Stanford-Colorado game. Man, you talk about a heartbreaker there, dude.
I'm just gonna be the one to come out and fucking say it. Like I'm tired of all this hoopla around Deion Sanders because his teams continue to just beat themselves.
Yeah.
We can sit here and talk about that Travis Hunter all night long and about how he's one of the best athletes in college football, and you're not wrong. He definitely is playing both sides of the ball. But he single-handedly, I truly believe, lost that game for them. You pick up a penalty on a 3rd and 26, just a stupid, after the play, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for no reason, and give them a first down and allow Stanford, who had all momentum in the second half. And
obviously,
it's just this whole Colorado story. They beat TCU in week 1. TCU had lost basically their entire team from last year, so that wasn't a great win. They beat Colorado State. Colorado State was not very good. I remember Michigan beating them by about 50 last year in one of their cupcake games at the beginning of the season. And then since then have just been a complete fucking letdown. And Stanford is a horrible football team. And
Yeah.
Come back after being down 29-0 at halftime and come back and win that game. Absolutely pitiful, and I don't want to hear another fucking word about Colorado or Deion Sanders for the rest of the year.
Well, Andrew also says, I agree with 2K's comment. Penn State has always been a dominant competitor in the division. The only difference is Penn State hasn't had a quarterback to actually help them compete.
Yeah,
so
you want to talk about how pitiful the Big Ten West is?
yeah, it's horrible. which this is the last year of the East and West, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
amongst other things changing, hopefully that will.
I was at the bar in Grand Rapids last night, which I actually want to give a huge shout out to my wife.
Thank you for reminding me.
She did a half marathon today, her second one in a row.
Clap
So
it up.
her and
Clap it
Cassie
up.
Coffee both.
Yes.
So we spent the night in Grand Rapids last night.
I honestly don't even want to drive 13 miles.
No.
Let alone run. So yeah, Chell, Cassie, good on you. Congratulations.
So Cassie Coffee was running it with her today. Tyler Coffee and I are going back to the hotel this morning after we walked them down there. They started, and then we went back to the hotel, and him and I are looking for a shortcut to cut through like an alleyway back to our hotel because we don't want to
While they're running
walk all the
13
way.
miles.
And it's just like,
Lazy
man, we're maybe not doing this right. But no. So last night we're at a bar and we're watching the obviously the Washington Oregon game. It was before Notre Dame USC kicked off, and I see another screen like over to the side, and it is. Iowa, Wisconsin. It looks like it's a baseball score. It was like game. I want to say it was like 10-6 or something like that in the fourth quarter. Then
horrible game.
It ended up being 12-6 because there was a safety. Which why would a safety not happen in a game like that?
Yeah. With Iowa.
And we're talking those are the two best teams probably in the West. Yeah. So just how pitiful.
And Iowa was kind of terrible when Cade McNamara was still healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he was still getting his legs underneath him, still learning the system. Obviously, a huge blow to that program. Mm-hmm. They did have a couple flashes there. I mean, they got over the 350-yard mark as a team, which hadn't happened in quite a while. So I have a feeling if Cade was still there, they'd be building on that. And this year is not Matt Rule's best year by any means, but did you expect anything different without any of his recruits? So Andrew did say, speaking of Colorado, they did beat themselves. They gave the game away, up a lot at half, and came back and just played shitball. And I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that.
You have 125, 130 penalty yards. It's pathetic.
You honestly don't deserve to win the game at that point. So my team out of my kind of sleeper team that I honestly think has the legs and kind of has the gumption to kind of be that upset. I mean, one is North Carolina, but two, North Carolina, I think the remainder of their schedule is going to have to be. They're going to have to prove a lot to get up in that 1, 2, 3, 4 spot. The one I'm really looking at is Alabama, and it pains me to say it because not only do they keep winning, they keep looking better each and every week.
But they keep on winning through like yesterday's game where they jump off against Arkansas in the first half, and then the second half just come out completely stale.
Yeah.
And it's like they just keep on finding ways to win, but they're not winning in that normal Alabama dominant way. They're just finding ways to win.
And you can say the same thing about Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, let's be honest. This top 4, and this is the updated AP top 25: Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State. In my opinion, those are the top 4 teams in the country.
I agree,
hands down. And you
can
you can number them however you want to.
Resume wise, I would say maybe Florida State has the best resume.
Absolutely,
as far as with their wins.
But they have one number 1 vote.
Yeah.
Washington has 2 number 1 votes. Now, if we kind of take a step back and we're planning for next year, where the top 12 get in, this could be super interesting, folks. Mm-hmm. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, Oklahoma, Penn State, Texas, Oregon, North Carolina, with Alabama right on the outside and Oregon State at number 12. And we cruise down, and lo and behold, Notre Dame's at 15 with 2 losses. Now, the teams ahead of Notre Dame, that's some tough shit right there. Utah at 14, Ole Miss at 13, Oregon State at 12, then you get into Alabama, North Carolina in the top 10. But my kind of sleeper, and I hate it when Alabama's good. I hate it when Nick Saban's good. It's just that thing like, okay, what if Alabama runs the table, beats Georgia in the SEC title game? How much will that be enough to vault them into the top 4?
If Alabama does that, for sure, absolutely. But on the other side of things, though, with Bama is I look at the next 2 weeks, and they might be done.
Sure, absolutely.
They have Tennessee and LSU.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
2 games that.
And Nick Saban beat the shit out of LSU. Please.
Oh,
please.
100%. 100%.
Beat Brian Kelly and his family.
I don't even know if I can go that far. I really do not like Kelly. I never did. I listened to you guys try to talk me into that fucking phony for a while.
And I've talked ad nauseum. I had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Never, but I don't know. I don't know if I can go as far to say I want to root for Alabama to beat them bad. I don't know. If that game could end in a tie, that would probably be best case scenario for me. But
so you would be that guy at college game day with the sign that says, "I hope they both win."
Yes.
You sack of shit.
I hope they both lose because the tie is a lose.
So we did have another question, and I think the answer to this question was actually kind of answered last night. This is by Bradley Newell. Over under Notre Dame winning 7 games. And we are at 6 right now with Pittsburgh. Thank goodness we have a bye.
Yeah.
I mean,
we needed it.
I think it was more of a funny as far as that.
But no,
that question being brought up.
We actually talked about it today. He's like, no, I was actually serious. And now, I honestly, if this bye would have come 2 weeks ago, like between the Ohio State and Duke game, I think we would have seen a whole different outcome. But it comes when it comes, and Notre Dame has Pittsburgh, Clemson, Wake Forest, and Stanford. I really don't see them losing any of those games. And honestly, I honestly think it's good that we have these teams now because, first of all, game day is not going to be at any of them. Nope. The pressure's off. Coming off a huge win, and now, thankfully, after a huge rivalry win, I'm glad that the bye is now, so we're not going in super high and get our dicks kicked in by Pittsburgh the next week. So there's a little time to kind of recoup and kind of re-energize. So, Brandon, as a fellow Notre Dame fan, what are your thoughts here?
I agree 100%. The bye was needed. I mean, you've played 4 straight night games against ranked opponents, and if I'm not mistaken, they were all undefeated. Correct? They were all undefeated. Yeah, they needed it.
And Notre Dame played week 0.
Yeah, exactly. You went across the globe to play this game, and I think the bye would have been great for Tennessee State just to say, hey, welcome back to America. We've been all around the world now in the first 2 weeks, so we need a break, and it's also midterms there right now, so. Your academics are important. Obviously, it's very important. So, the bye came at the right time. What a great way to go into the bye. There's no doubt about that. This is the best way ever to go into a bye. But, I agree. It came at the right time. And take advantage of it now and just prepare. But I agree. Prepared to play each game like it's the last.
Andy says LSU all the way. Can't stand Bama or Saban. Touche.
I can't stand either one of the teams. I guess for me, I actually do have some respect for Saban. I like Saban. I'm not saying I'm like a Saban fan by any means.
You're not rolling Tide anytime soon.
I think to me, you just have to give respect to the best in the business.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that can sit here and argue that there's anybody better than him.
Nope.
Just let his resume speak for itself. So I don't respect anything that fucking Kelly's done, and I don't think he'll ever do anything
My hatred for LSU goes back to Les Miles. So it's three quarters of hatred of LSU, a quarter hatred of Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
So
they did bring it back when they brought Coach O though in there. I did kind of like that guy.
That Joe Burrow team especially.
Yeah.
And then Coach O had to go diddling co-eds and living his best life. But you know what? He was divorced.
Yeah.
He was divorced. Good for him. Good for him and his home and what you make it. Home and what you make it. So now that we've seen, we've kind of gone over the newest AP rankings. 2Ks, what are your thoughts on the AP rankings? Do you think they're right? Do you think that a team should be up or down? What are your thoughts here?
No, I really don't have. I mean, I've been looking at it here since we started, and I really don't have any argument.
No qualms?
No. I think teams are. I think for some of them, the two top teams, Georgia, we just haven't really seen them be tested. And same thing can be said about Michigan.
Yep.
I don't think anybody should have jumped Georgia to this point just because when you've done what they've done and be so dominant for 2 years, to me, until you beat them, somebody beats them, they don't move, regardless of how they win games.
Right.
I do think that Bowers injury is something to pay attention to because they run their entire offense through that guy.
Why would you not?
Yeah, I mean, best tight end in college football, one of the best players in all of college football.
I would say probably like the third or fourth best receiver in the nation.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest.
Absolutely. But this Florida State team is one that I'm really watching. And going into the season, people were talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. being the best wide receiver in college football. I think he's been passed. I'm going to give the best wide receiver in football to Keon Coleman from Florida State. Sorry to all you Spartan fans that lost him in the transfer portal. But that dude made another another top ESPN top 10 catch last night.
Was he the dude that went over the top?
Come back one-handed. Come back one-handed.
Yeah.
And it just seems like he keeps doing this every single week.
2Ks, he actually has a quarterback that throws the ball.
That's the thing.
That's a huge deal.
That's the thing when I look at these four teams in the top four. Travis is probably the most impressive quarterback out of all of them. Now, J.J. McCarthy he's been really, really good.
He's been solid.
But Michigan doesn't ask. See, that's the thing, too. And Michigan doesn't really ask for their quarterback. They're going to run the football. They're going to run the football, and you're not going to see McCarthy just have games where he throws for 300-400 passing yards and has 4 touchdown passes. It's just not going to happen. You see it all the time.
If he does, there's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a problem.
Exactly.
Like they're playing from far behind.
You see the numbers last year. Look at the McCarthy numbers last year in the TCU game.
Yeah.
That's not the football. That's not the style game that Michigan wants to get into.
But he can play that game.
He can absolutely. So, but you're not going to see the gaudy numbers. But as far as just watching McCarthy every single week, he's the best quarterback that Michigan's had in maybe ever. As far
regular
as
season
talent,
so far,
everything he has,
yes.
Absolutely. But this Travis kid from Florida State is the real deal. And
honestly, you look at the top 4: Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State. There was 2. I mean, out of all of those, McCarthy is the most tenured quarterback out of all of them, until you get to number 5 with Penix, and that was a big question mark coming out of last year. Is like, what do all these teams do that aren't returning a seasoned quarterback? And Michigan has done exactly what they should have done up to this point. I mean, they've beat the teams that they've beaten. They've had some style points. I mean, granted, are there some of the games where it looked like they probably should have gotten more style points? Yes, but ultimately the team got the job done. You could say the same thing with Georgia, but they're doing it with a same kind of defensive style, where the defense is going to be relentless. The defense is not going to lose the game. And Georgia's quarterback has done just enough to get by. Now the running game goes back towards Michigan, hands down. Michigan probably has one of the best running attacks and the best offensive line in the country. Ohio State's kind of that wild card. I mean, they do have one of the top 3 or 4 wide receiving cores in the nation. Very unproven quarterback. A good running game, a good offensive line, but a defense that we've seen even the last couple years been good until they face a team like Michigan, or even going back facing Georgia, where they probably should have won that game in the playoffs. And I really don't know how to feel about this Ohio State team. I think this week going against Penn State is going to be a very good litmus test.
Oh, yeah.
If Penn State goes into Columbus and beats them, do they jump to the top 4?
They have to. They're at 7 right now.
They jump over Oklahoma. They jump over.
They have to. They have to. Unless because Florida State does not play Michigan or Georgia or Washington. Oklahoma doesn't play anyone above them. So I would say yeah.
Yeah,
I would have to say yeah.
Georgia's schedule their schedule starts next week.
Yep.
I mean, you got Florida on the road, probably going to be without your best player in Bowers. And then you follow that up with Missouri, another top 25
Tim Tebow's
team.
going to be in the building.
Oh, absolutely.
Is going to be in the
But
building.
like I look at the next month here for Georgia, and you have Florida next week in the Swamp. Then you got Missouri. Then you got Ole Miss. Then you got Tennessee. So next 4 opponents.
4 pesky ass teams.
Yeah.
4 pesky ass teams. But then again, this could be where Georgia's like, this is where we're throwing our dick down right now.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, you take Bowers. If Bowers is not on the field, we're talking about a whole different football team.
What are your thoughts, Brandon?
I agree 100% with the ratings. But yes, if Penn State does go to Columbus and does it, yeah, I jump them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the Florida-Georgia game is in Jacksonville. They always play that one neutral.
Oh,
That's
good
a
point.
neutral. That's always been a neutral game. But
Tim Tebow's still in the building.
he's still going to be there. He's going to be there. It's basically a Florida home game, just in a different city.
Right.
But yes.
Where you can drink and have way more people there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And if it's in Jacksonville, they probably have the pool and all the other amenities. Yeah.
It ain't gonna be boring. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, it's and I'm still, like I said, I'm Ohio State. Even though they beat our Irish,
Yes, they did.
we can't take that back.
Absolutely not.
But it wasn't the normal like 41-14 beat down of the Irish.
No.
And the part that pains me the most is the other loss to Louisville kind of doesn't give that much of a big credence to that win against Notre Dame. Now, after yesterday, you can kind of be like, okay, now that Notre Dame that beating Notre Dame kind of gives you a little bit more credence if you are an Ohio State team.
And I think for Ohio State too is you have to start to kind of give them credit. And I hate doing this. I hate giving Ohio State any credit, but they were very, very spoiled there for a long time with C.J. Stroud.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
look what he's doing in the NFL.
One of the best college quarterbacks that I've seen in a long time, and did it for a long time there. And now to slide over to the Kyle McCord era, he's got to learn. He wasn't getting any playing. He wasn't getting passes. Wasn't throwing in big time situations. And you threw him out there in that Notre Dame game, and he did. They won the game. He went out there and didn't make mistakes.
He didn't lose the game.
Now I look at what they've done in 2 weeks, and against I think a pretty decent Maryland team, and they wiped them out in the second half. And then to follow it up by just destroying Purdue yesterday. I know Purdue's not good, but their offense has looked a lot. It looks like a lot more like an Ohio State offense. I think they're sitting in a pretty good place going into this Penn State game.
I do too.
And I mean, and look, I don't like to ever root for Ohio State. I'm never going to root for them. I just kind of hope that it all plays out. But I mean, me as a Michigan fan, and I would hope all Michigan fans out there, I want to see Ohio State undefeated. I want to see both teams undefeated when they square off against each other. So that's just in my opinion. But no, I think Ohio State is turning it around, and they're a legit top 4 team right now.
And that was one of the questions leading into the Notre Dame Ohio State game that I asked Kyle was, as a Michigan fan, are you rooting for Notre Dame to knock off Ohio State, or, and I'm not saying rooting for Ohio State, but just hoping they get to you undefeated? And he said, I'm never rooting for Ohio State to beat the shit out of them. That was pretty much what he said. Said.
I will never root for Ohio State, never. Now, if it happens and they win and they show up in Ann Arbor undefeated along with Michigan, hey, that's what I want to see at the end of the day. But no, I will never physically root for a team. I was rooting for Notre Dame to win that game against Ohio State because that's where my money was at.
That's why we lost, dude. You tarnished the wagon.
Exactly.
You bandwagon asshole. No, Andy says Ohio State, Michigan both undefeated when they battle is an all-out brawl.
Oh.
Absolutely,
Oh.
absolutely. And unfortunately, it's a noon game.
Yeah, it's just that's just the way that game's always been. It's always been a noon kickoff. But yeah, when those two teams are undefeated, it's going on. Like I look back to last year. Obviously, when you come out on the right side of that game, you're a lot happier than when you're on the wrong side. And I've been on the wrong side a lot more in my lifetime than I have on the right. So, but yeah, when you look back at that game last year, 2 undefeated teams. Basically, you win and you are going to you're going to the Big Ten championship game, and regardless of what happens there, you're going to the playoff.
Unless you completely step on your neck. Yeah.
And so it just, I just personally as a football fan, I want to see those two teams be undefeated. Why would you fucking not?
Yeah, and I'd be really curious to see what the spread is right now on that game.
I look at it for just looking ahead to next week with Michigan State. Like, as much as I sit back and just smile, with this shit-eating grin at how bad Michigan State's program is right now, and how there looks like there's really no fucking way out right now.
No.
I wish that they were a little bit better, because like this game, I understand that anything can happen in a rivalry game, but I don't see any way that Michigan State plays within 4 scores of Michigan next week. That's how pitiful bad they are. Yeah, it's almost like I'm not really looking forward to this game any more than I was Michigan-Indiana this week.
No, and that Indiana kind of jumped out, and I'm like,
the first 6-7 minutes of the game were kind of concerning.
Yeah,
and it took a little bit, but then but that's the thing too with Michigan, and why when you're such a good team is there's no panic.
No,
there was no panic. They knew that it was kind of a fluke start to that game. Indiana had the ball for like 6-7 minutes on a possession. I just kept on kind of nickel and diming Michigan all the way down the field, scored the touchdown. But Michigan knew that they were going to get their possessions throughout the game, and then they went on scored on 6 straight drives or something like that. So
yeah, I was waiting to go work on some stuff in the garage until Michigan started pulling away.
Yeah.
And I honestly expected to go do that about a half an hour before I actually did.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, yep, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, gentlemen, let's take a look at next week. We've already talked about the Penn State Ohio State game, and I honestly have a very good feeling that's where College Game Day will be. Oh. But there are some other top 25 matchups. We've got we mentioned Tennessee, Alabama. Utah, USC. USC dropped to 18, which going from 10 to 18 with that loss, I'm still kind of surprised they're that high.
We're going to figure out what kind of a win that was for Notre Dame next week by watching that game.
Yeah.
Was this Notre Dame win all that great? Personally, for me, I know you guys are not going to like this answer, but I don't think it was that great of a win. I don't think USC is even they're borderline top 25 in my opinion. I think if Utah comes out and beats the shit out of them on their own field, it's going to kind of show that win maybe wasn't what you guys are thinking it is.
Well, even preseason, when we looked at Michigan, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Ohio State schedule, you and I both looked at that game, and we're like, if USC brings back kind of the same style defense, there's no way that Notre Dame's going to be stopped. Yeah. And to be honest with you, that was not the case. It was Notre Dame's defense that it totally exposed that.
This is
if you listen to the announcers, which I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a second. The announcers for NBC are absolutely fucking atrocious.
Dude, it's been that way for ever since I've been alive.
Jason Garrett needs to get off my TV, go hide in a hole forever.
NBC's been like that since I've been alive watching these games.
Mike Tirico is good.
Oh, shit. All them fucking Notre Dame homers. I have hated watching Notre Dame football because I've had to listen to them. And now, watching Michigan, they have to play on NBC a lot.
You're welcome.
And it's just like... And I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, Michigan's playing on NBC and Notre Dame's playing on CBS or on ABC, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on in the world right now?
I text
where
you
Michigan's playing on NBC.
I text you that.
And Notre Dame.
What is going on here? What is going on?
I hated it, and
between Collinsworth's son.
Oh my God, it's so bad. It's so bad.
I was getting texts from Kyler Thornburg, an avid Michigan fan. Mm-hmm. He had money on the game, which he took 30 and a hook first half. Mm-hmm. The hook bailed him out because it ended at 30. Mm-hmm. And we were chatting at like midway of the second quarter, and it was like 17 or 18 points been scored. I'm like, dude, you're good. You're good. The way both these teams have moved the ball, you're good. Next thing you know, Notre Dame gets turnover, score, and then as he drives the ball down towards the end of the first half, I'm like, dude. Yeah. He's like, I hate watching Notre Dame football, and these announcers make it absolutely terrible to listen to. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, I totally agree with you. But kind of back on the topic here, there's no way that game day is not in Columbus.
No way.
They are.
No, it's got to
They're
be.
there.
They are.
Yeah. They will be there today.
Good.
Yeah, it's got to
Good.
be.
And very well deserved. Mm-hmm. Very well deserved.
Absolutely.
But I mean, this is even though there's not a whole ton of sexy matchups on this slate, and we got Duke, Florida State. That's one that totally bypassed.
Tennessee, Alabama.
Yeah, and this would be a good test for Florida State, sitting at number 4. Oh, yeah. And now I was kind of expecting kind of a drop off with Duke after the injury to the quarterback during the Notre Dame game. Didn't seem to. No. I mean that just goes to show you the kind of grit and shit that's going down there at Duke. Yeah. But going against Florida State is going to be a whole other animal. So it'll be interesting to see. And Florida State's 14-point favorite, and Ohio State opens at a 4.5-point favorite. If you're asking me right now, give me Penn State in the points right now. But that's a whole other story. And this isn't a bad slate of games next week, boys.
No, it's not.
This isn't a bad slate of games.
I mean, we're getting now into the best part of college football. I mean, this is when you're going to start seeing everybody square off playing ranked opponents every single week. You're getting into the back half of the season. I mean, this is what it's all about. So, and I think we can't ask for much of a better matchup right off the bat than Penn State, Ohio State to kind of start that all off.
Well, as we said his name, and he's here. Kyler says amen. Kyler, I'm not sure if you're saying amen about how terrible the announcers were, or amen that you actually hit your bet. So, but Andy says State doesn't stand a chance at all. No. Hands down. Michigan's a 24.5-point favorite. Give me Michigan right now. Right now, I will give Sparty 24.5. I might actually give Sparty 27 at this point.
Yeah,
I will.
They're bad.
I will give some points. I will give some points on that one. Not even looking to buy him. I will give some points. I will give some points on that one. All right, well, gentlemen, let's do our as of right now. Give me your top 5. Start with the guest, Mr. Brandon.
All right. Load it on up here. Top 5 for me would be 1, Georgia.
Gotcha.
2, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
3, Florida State. I changed it up a little bit. And then
I like it.
4, splitting hairs with this one. I picked Washington just because of the win, but you could easily put Ohio State there. This was kind of my hard pick to make, and then Ohio State 5th.
You just hate Ohio State.
I don't hate Ohio State, by all means.
You just hate Ohio State.
Well,
that's all right.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of what happened 3.5 weeks ago, but naturally, I like Ohio State there, the Michigan State, and all this. So there you go.
We have who is this? Andy says, "I'm honestly looking to take Penn State with the win next week by 3." Ooh, 2Ks. Someone's taking Penn State.
Hey, I don't hate it. I mean, this Penn State team's legit.
Yeah,
they're legit. But the thing is, I just have a hard time trusting Penn State. I just think that Franklin is a fucking phony. I think he has a knack for his team is looking like this early in seasons, and then when they get into the big ones, it seems like they always kind of fall apart. They just don't ever talk about it because it's Penn State. If something like that happens in Ann Arbor or Columbus, and then we're going to talk about those two coaches all the time. But Franklin just kind of gets a clean slate all the time. Nobody really ever talks about it, but he never wins any big ones.
It's true.
But as far as my top 4, I really can't.
Top 5.
Or top 5, I can't change anything with this top 4 that I'm seeing on ESPN right now. I think it's exactly right where we stand at right now. As much as I'm a Michigan homer, I still have Georgia as the number 1 team just because nobody's beat them yet. Mm-hmm. I have Michigan at number 2, Ohio State at number 3, and Florida State at number 4. And then for that 5th team, where we're sitting right now, I would like to put Penn State there, but because Washington won that game, beating an Oregon team that has looked really impressive all season long, I'm going to just keep Washington right there. Now Penn State goes out and wins this game against Ohio State. The ball's in their court. They have a chance to slide into the top 4. Yeah. But where we're at right now, that's my top 5.
Yeah, I really can't. I'm with Brandon. I'm going to flip-flop Florida State and Ohio State. But other than that, I'm cool with it. Mm. I'm cool with it, and it's nothing that Ohio State has done wrong. No. It's just that the eye test tells me that Florida State is better than Ohio State right now. Right now, by the eye test, Florida State is not better than Michigan or Georgia. No. And Washington, even after that huge win, I think was gifted that win, like we talked about, over poor coaching, where we honestly could see Oregon sitting 5 instead of 9. And even at that point, I still can't put Oregon over Florida State, Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia. I just can't. Even after that big of a win, the eye test just I can't. No. I can't. So, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. It is top 5 time. In 2Ks, we have a third top 5 to go along with mine and yours, which is awesome. So this week's top 5, ladies and gentlemen, is top 5 wing sauces. Now, I must preface this with every time I've went out to get wings with 2Ks, he is a little baby and gets boneless. Where if you're a true wings fan, it's not a question of.
I have a theory on this. If I'm eating wings at my house, where I have, don't have to worry about looking like, just having sauce all the way down to my elbows.
I don't care.
I will eat bone in. But when I'm out in public, I tend to just go with the. They're convenient. There's nothing. There's no cleanup with them.
You're right.
You're not constantly. You don't have like. I'm the one that's like wiping their fucking hands and mouth so much that my napkin is like frayed to nothing. There's like a hole in the middle of it. So it's just like, I don't want to do this in public.
They have other ones. You can get more napkins.
And then you have a fucking tower of napkins on your. So I can't. That's why I just stick to. They're easy. I stick to the boneless.
So you're basically eating chicken nuggets to that point.
Yes.
Okay. Just so we're on the same page. Just so, I'm instead of a boneless or bone in, I'm more of a wings or flats type guy, or a drummies or flats type guy. Mm-hmm. Now, Brandon, are you with your brother here with this whole boneless shenanigan? Or?
I'm a little 50-50. I mean, bones sometimes, but a lot of times I like my chicken nuggets. I like my chicken tenders. That's my stuff right there. That's my jam.
You're not
a podcast with 5-year-olds.
You're not just wiping yourself with napkins the entire time.
No, that's you guys are missing the point. You get all nasty and then just wipe it off all at once at the end.
I can't. I can't jump on board.
Germaphobe myself.
Yeah.
Germaphobe.
Jeez, oh Pete, man. All right. So with that being said, as disappointed in both of you as I am, Brandon, give us your number 5 wing sauce. Now you. Before we went live, you did say you're not a huge wing fan.
I'm not.
Now, Andy says he's a flats, hands down. My brother, fist bump. Give me flats all day.
I agree.
Give me flats all day. And flats are honestly if you're with 2Ks and you don't want to get gunk on your fingers, that's the easiest way to eat them, as opposed to the drummies, because the drummies there's more bone, less meat. Flats, more meat, less bone. Right. That's what she said. But Brandon, I know we're kind of expanding your repertoire here, but
certainly are.
What is your number 5 wing sauce?
Teriyaki.
Good choice. Good choice. Hard to go wrong with good teriyaki sauce. Mm-hmm. What's your number 4?
Lemon pepper. Sounds delicious, right?
Okay. I can get down with some lemon pepper. What's your number 3?
Just plain Jane. Keep it plain.
Okay.
No heartburn.
Now, are you a naked or breaded?
Breaded, definitely.
Now, see, we all 3 are in agreement of that one. Lightly breaded, not big chunky breading.
No.
Lightly breading. I'll eat naked wings, but I prefer a little crunch. I prefer a little crunch.
Just a hint.
Yes. Your number 2.
Barbecue. It's gonna be a shock. Barbecue, actually, 'cause the heartburn issues.
Do you like spicy barbecue, sweet barbecue?
Sweet.
Sweet?
Definitely sweet.
Like Sweet Baby Ray's style?
Baby Ray style.
All right,
That's
I got
stuff.
you. I can get down with some of that. And your number 1
And I just had these the other night ago. Garlic Parmesan.
Oh, my
They
man.
were fantastic.
My man. Hard to go wrong with a good garlic parm. 2K's your number 5.
Start number 5. I'll go with plain. I like plain also. I'm maybe not completely plain because I'll probably have like a ranch cup that I'll be dipping in.
Little dunk
I
style.
agree with you though. Breaded for sure. Number 4. I like teriyaki. I do. I like teriyaki. I'll stick with that. Number 3, honey barbecue.
Ooh.
I do like some honey barbecue. I'm not a huge just original barbecue fan, but a little bit of honey barbecue, I can get down with them.
A little bit kick in the pants.
To be honest though, anytime I ever have wings, there's really only 2 sauces that I ever go, so it's going to be number 2 and 1 for me. Number 2, original buffalo. Those and then number 1, garlic parmesan. Garlic parm is number 1. I think that's probably number 1 on about everybody's list.
Unless you're a psychopath that likes extremely hot stuff. Yeah. And now with mine, I like heat, but I like it to taste like something. I don't want it just to melt my face.
I don't want to be sweating while I'm enjoying my dinner.
No, and my number 5 is not necessarily a sauce, but a rub. I like Caribbean jerk, which is a little kick in the pants, but then again, brings something more to the table. It's not just to melt your face off. My number 4, traditional buffalo, but it's got to be like a thin buffalo, not like a chunky. Like I want it on there and can drip it off, which sounds kind of weird, but if you've been in the restaurant industry long enough, that's how you know there's the proper amount of hot sauce to butter in said buffalo sauce. My number 3, I have to go teriyaki as well. The only downfall is being a diabetic now, can only have a few of those. But yes, a good teriyaki is always amazing. My number 2, I got to go plain number 2 again with a side of ranch. My number 1 is I'm with you guys, garlic parm. Yeah. Garlic parm. Now if we're going to a wing joint, I'm either ordering all garlic parm or half garlic parm, half buffalo, and kind of meandering the sauces a little bit. But
and then just using a shit ton of ranch too.
Give it to me dry. No
Really?
ranch.
I
Ranch
love
on
my
there.
ranch. I'm not a huge ranch fan. Like some people, fuck my kids. They will dip ranch on everything. Like they're putting ranch on their pizza, everything in the house, chicken.
Dipping frozen pizza in ranch, I can get down with a little bit, just because it kind of makes the frozen pizza not as dry.
Yes.
But I'm not a huge ranch fan. But on wings, that's about the only time I ever touch it.
Brandon, are you a ranch or blue cheese guy?
I'm ranch myself.
Okay, let's say if you're blue cheese, you're never coming on the show again. Blue cheese is disgusting.
Blue cheese is disgusting.
And it is. Yeah. Nope, can't do it.
My wife,
Can't do it.
Joe, is a blue cheese fan, and I'm always like so worried that while I'm eating my wings, I'm gonna get them mixed up. So I'm paranoid about it all the time. I'm like looking at them and shaking them up. And
Andy says I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. I like non-breaded but seasoned as well. Yeah, you're weird. It's okay. But no, Andy, you're right. It's hard to get a good breaded wing nowadays. I mean, normally it's the naked ones, which if they're done right, I don't mind. But it's again, coming from the restaurant industry, it's easier to dry out or overcook naked wings as it is opposed to breaded wings. So just a kind of heads up there, Andy. Heads up. Oh yeah. Oh, Thai chili. Forgot about that one. Forgot about that one.
Cool.
Brandon's acid reflux just went.
Yeah, it just kicked in there.
Damn, what are you, 50? Jeez,
41,
Pete.
close enough.
Jeez, Pete. Pretty sure your dad can eat spicier stuff than that.
Oh, I know.
Speaking of which, we're gonna have to get old T. Roy on the podcast again before basketball
He
season.
actually texted right when we started. Read what he texted. He said, "ND Notre Dame beats USC and Brandon is the guest."
Well, naturally,
We
of course.
we actually had this set up last Saturday.
We did.
This was
Sunday.
actually planned on being kind of more of a more depressing day because I thought it was going to be a Louisville game all over again, but worse.
You know, I mean, I guess when you're a fan, you know, you're invested in it a lot more than me. But just kind of me looking back, watching it, I just thought Notre Dame was going to have their way with them. USC, to me, just like I've said, I said it, you know, before the college football season even kicked off. I'm like, this team is, if they're anything like what they were last year, and we know that they lost a ton of talent, you know, on both sides of the ball last year, but their defense was terrible last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we knew it was not going to be any better. And you know, I know that there's when you make a coaching change or anything like that, that there's there's going to be a couple years maybe of adjustment time. Yeah. But to me, like this Lincoln Riley experience so far in USC,
Terrible.
I mean, if it wasn't for Caleb Williams just playing out of his mind last year, and so far this year has been, you know, he hasn't been the Caleb Williams of last, but you take away, you know, Jordan Addison, some of the talent that they've had.
If you would have looked at his numbers through the first 6 weeks up before Saturday, his numbers were actually better this year than they were last year,
Really?
which blows my mind.
Yeah.
But then again, defense is terrible. Now, did I expect Notre Dame to win? Yes, but not in the fashion that they did. No. That as a fan, that's the part I took away. Like, holy shit!
Oh, they just dominated them.
Yeah,
dominated them.
And getting back to what now that we've cleared the slate of topics here, we can kind of chat about it. I honestly think that, again, the lack of experience for Notre Dame's receivers came out again. Mm-hmm. And that's, to me, that's the biggest downfall of the team. Now, rewind to the Louisville game, the team was outplayed every aspect of the game. That was
that game was just
you can't put it on Sam Hartman. You can't put it on the offense. You can't put it on the defense. You can't put it on special teams. You can't even put it on Coach Freeman. That's a program-wide loss.
Yeah. And at the same time, though, as bad as Notre Dame was in that game, you have to give some credit to Louisville, too. Louisville's a good football. I mean, they showed a better football team.
They showed up
hardcore.
Mm-hmm. I have never in my life, on my Twitter feed, seen so many Louisville fans or fans of any opponent we've ever played since I've had Twitter, since like 2016, come out with such, fuck you, we're going to kick the shit out of you. I'm like, who have you guys played? Which up until that point, not really a whole lot.
And it's, to me, when I look at Notre Dame, because for 2 years in a row, you've looked at that schedule preseason and been like, that's a gauntlet of a schedule. Mm-hmm. And last year it didn't play out that way because the teams that they beat that we thought were going to be really good were not very good. Yeah. But this year, a lot of these teams were really good. I mean, the USC, they're not, but this Duke team was a lot better than what we expected. Louisville, a lot better than what was expected. Yeah, I mean, you even can look at that North Carolina State team and say they're probably a little bit better than what was expected. So to me, it's a different story than last year. Now Notre Dame has kind of got past that gauntlet of things. You go into the bye week, and I'm not going to say you're going to relax, but the rest of the way out is not like it has been. This point in the season, to where last year it looked really, really good on paper, but then when we started to see the games play out, that schedule really wasn't near as tough as what everybody thought.
And then when you take 2 quick L's at the beginning of the season last year, it doesn't really help.
Notre Dame's has made a huge improvement. They are a much
There
better
were so many
team.
people wanted Coach Freeman fired after last week. I'm like, calm the fuck down.
You have to give him time. Now, I will say my one thing on Freeman is, and I think what I take away from last night's game, was he finally won a big one because he hadn't done that yet. Really.
He did against Clemson last year.
Yeah. But
this was dominating.
That kind of goes back into my, the conversation too, where I know Clemson, they ended the season really, really good, but by the time when Notre Dame matched up against them, Clemson really wasn't playing on all cylinders like they were going into at the end of the season.
Yeah.
They lost games in the beginning of the year. But when you look at the Ohio State game this year, and you can sit here and talk about you only have 10 people on the field, and you did it twice, and you came out of a timeout, and you fucking still had 10 people on it. But it just, when there's close ball games, from what I've seen he always has like this fucking blank look on his face. He's always standing with his arms folded, and he's always like talking to, I don't know, Jesus, touchdown Jesus in the microphone.
Easy.
And I'm not sure who he's talking, what's going on there, but there's a very, very confused look on his face, and it's like, all right, sooner or later you're going to have to win one of these big ones, and because in the world we live in now, if you don't win the big ones and you are a coach at Notre Dame, you're going to start to get talked about. Ask Jim Harbaugh about that one.
Yes.
Because he could win 10 games and was still on the hot seat every single season, according to
5 or 6 years.
According to all of these, these college football, analysts that think they have it all figured out. But that's just the way it is. And last night, that's the one thing I take out of it is he finally got a game that, regardless if they were expected to win that game last night, he finally won it easy. Looked like they belonged. Everything.
They didn't steal it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't steal.
There was really no time in the game where Notre Dame should have been worried.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy that, like you said, he does have that confused look sometimes. He's young. Granted mind, but he is in this position. I want him to make sure he's, in the game. But if this was Brian Kelly last night, this would be a 20-point loss easily.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
If it was the Ohio State game 4 weeks ago, Brian Kelly, 20-point loss. That guy couldn't win the big games.
No.
Marcus he's a hell of a recruiter, and the culture down there. Being there last night was absolutely incredible to see that place as jammed as it was. I'm 41 years old. I'm trying to go down on the field after they won the game. Whereas my age caught up to me, didn't make it down to the field in time. But it was
in time. They were on the field for like 2.5 hours after the game.
Well, that was a pretty big jump for a little old man like me to make down that wall, and it was still a little bit wet from the misting. And I don't know if I don't want my wife to have to come down to South Bend to wheel me out of the hospital with a broken leg or something like that.
How cool of a story would that be, though? I broke my leg jumping off the field. Storm in the field, the USC game.
But I didn't do it because I've already been on the field at Notre Dame before, not in a crowd storming moment. So we went down the old man stairs. So that was the way to do it. But just the atmosphere now around that place with Freeman and company, it's so much better than what it was with Kelly. To me, it just was.
Yeah. Well, your head coach is not a royal dick.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think everybody outside of Notre Dame fans always have kind of known who Brian Kelly is. Yeah. And then after the way he did Notre Dame, now Notre Dame fans realize it, and they hate him. But for so long, it's like they protected that guy, and he's a douchebag. He's a dickhead, and there's really nothing good I don't think anybody can say about him.
I will say though, him coming to South Bend, he did leave it better than what he inherited it from Weiss.
Oh, for sure.
He did his job improving it, getting it up there, but when it came to big games, I don't remember too many big games. I know they beat Oklahoma in 2012, but look what happened when they went to the Orange Bowl in the national championship. They got steamrolled. Freeman still has growing up to do. He's got more time to learn. He's going to be there, but there's no doubt.
Even look at some of the people that were there yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Montana makes a comeback to campus after 15 years or whatever.
Yeah.
He has a relationship with Lou Holtz. He respects the tradition.
Oh, yeah.
And why in the hell would you not want some of these greats of the game to come back and be in the locker room, help you with recruiting?
Yeah.
Just watching the video of Sam Hartman embracing Joe Montana after the game was, that'd be the same as McCarthy with Tom Brady. Sure. You know what I mean? And I have a very good feeling that Jim Harbaugh doesn't say, Tom, we're good. No. We don't need you.
No.
Well, how many times that's been kind of Harbaugh's MO since he became the coach at Michigan. to me, there's really nobody. If you look around, I know that and that's what I'm kind of going at with Freeman is it's going to take time.
Sure,
you got to give
absolutely.
him that time. The talk of him being on the hot seat is complete bullshit.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Because
Calm
you look
down.
look at it on Michigan's side. If Michigan would have pulled the trigger and was done with Harbaugh because he couldn't win the Ohio State game, where would Michigan be at now? And the culture that he has built at Michigan, and the way that team plays, and the way that team plays for each other, and I mean it's a pretty special thing to watch. Now I know that this is just the way college sports works, and if you don't like this team, you're going to hate on them, and that's just how it goes. And I'm guilty of the same way. I sit up here and say hateful things about Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan State, all of them, and so I can't sit back and have a problem when teams do it, about my teams. But my point being is just what Harbaugh has done now in this time, especially in this last 3-4 years. He's built it to where I think in the beginning of his time, when the kids that he had on the field, they were wanting to play for their NFL career, and if that meant they play 2-3 years there and they're out of there and they're going to the draft, that's what they're going to do. To where now I think they get a lot of guys. You have 8 guys that probably could be playing in the NFL, and they chose to come back. They chose to be because they wanted to be a part of this. They wanted to be a part of something special. And in today's day and age, that's not a very easy thing to do, to build a culture where you're going to keep kids around, because there's always going to be the pressure to go and take the money, take your bag, and to be able to keep players, like some of them defensive linemen that Michigan has, offensive linemen,
which aren't getting big NIL bags.
No,
let's be honest.
No, that's the thing. It's not
They're
like
probably getting
it's not
something.
like Michigan's doing it with.
They're probably getting something.
Obviously, Blake Corum coming back,
Sure.
a skill position player, that was a huge deal. But to me, when the reason why Michigan is so good is because they dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They have arguably the best offensive line in college football and arguably the best defensive line and the most depth on both sides of the ball. So, but there's a reason for that, because they were able to bring all these kids back because they simply just wanted to be a part of it. And like you said, they're not making shit at NIL money.
And when you are a Michigan that gives time to develop a culture, especially when the culture is winning, like you said, there was only 1 or 2 years where Michigan was absolutely atrocious.
It was in the Harbaugh era, the only season where they were just completely horrible was the COVID year. And I'm can you really look at the COVID year and I know it's easy out just say you can cancel that season, but to me that's what I do with it. That was such a fucked up time in a year.
Dodgers fans are still hanging on.
They're the only ones.
Kyler Thornburg, what up?
But no, it's you have to. My point, with Freeman is fucking calm down. I know you guys will agree with it. He's the best hire they could have made, and in that situation, and it was a shock. It wasn't like everybody saw this happening where Brian Kelly was just going to go.
No.
So, and you needed to fill that vacancy fast, because in college football, recruiting starts is going on all season long.
The time that he left a whole lot of uncertainty as to the options Notre Dame could have went.
Yeah.
But getting back to my point with Michigan, it's they believed in him, which led him to develop the culture, a winning culture. Regardless like you said, they're winning 10 games a year. The recruiting gets easier when you have a winning culture.
Yeah.
Now, I think Freeman is on his way to getting there. And come on, a year and a half. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
We gave Ty Willingham how many years?
Yeah.
We gave Charlie Weiss how many years?
We gave him an extension after 3 games.
It's not so
Calm
much. It's not
down.
so much too as building, recruiting your players. Obviously that's a major factor in it, and being able to land players off the transfer portal. But it's about building a staff.
Yeah, which
and
Al Golden.
Harbaugh finally did it. Harbaugh finally got his.
Give Al Golden a lifetime extension, right?
Oh, yeah.
Lifetime
most definitely.
extension.
But with with Harbaugh's situation, he finally got that staff.
Yes.
And that's where it's all. Look at why was Alabama so good for. Why have they been so good for so long? Obviously Nick Saban, but look at the fucking staff that Nick Saban has had. Look where they're at now. Head coaches all over the place. Pretty damn good head coaches all over the place.
One of them just is the reigning, defending 2-time
one of
national
them,
champion.
Nick Saban just can't fucking beat now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The other one played coaching Oregon, playing in the game last night.
Lane Kiffin's another one.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
there's
Texas head coach.
yeah.
Sarkisian left there.
It's and if you look at the resume between, and just speaking Notre Dame, because I haven't dug deep enough in other programs. You look at year 2 of a coach. Freeman's doing pretty. Freeman had a very good first year, even though it didn't start out that way. But in all things, Freeman's had a better start to his career than Brian Kelly did. Hands down. Hands down. And getting back to Brandon's point, the atmosphere, the environment, the recruiting, light years beyond Brian Kelly. So for those of you Irish fans that are like, Coach Freeman needs to go, calm down.
Yeah. Well, I think why Freeman gets kind of a bad name out there sometimes is just because it's like it's the new era of these young head coaches, to where I think some of the old hats out there believe you need to work your way up, and he never really worked his way up through. Exactly. He never coached as a head coach anywhere else. So
he's a damn good defensive coordinator.
Absolutely. But when you walk in and your first job is Notre Dame, I think that's where some of the old hats start to speak out. Like, does this guy really know what he's doing? Like, obviously he can do his thing on defense, but can he handle 70 guys?
Yeah, I'm sure he feels that pressure every single day, and every day it'll get easier, especially when you beat the teams that you should beat, and the teams that you shouldn't, or quote unquote on paper shouldn't beat, compete with, and maybe beat some of them. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine, and his attitude, his heart, his determination, and why he's there is the reason I have such faith in him. And you're seeing the players reciprocate that on the field. You're seeing the recruits reciprocate that. And I think that's why, if you were to cut bake with him right now, is the stupidest move ever. Because getting back to your point, who would Michigan replace Harbaugh with? Who knows? Who would... Who? No. I mean, granted, Notre Dame doesn't have this, we need a Notre Dame guy like Michigan does. Yeah. And until Michigan gets past that, we need a Michigan guy. Jim Harbaugh is going to be there until he's 80.
Yeah, I kind of thought that this was going to be it for Harbaugh, and then you hear about all the reports out that by the end of the month he's going to be the highest paid coach in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Which should be.
Absolutely. There should not be a coach in the Big Ten right now that makes anywhere even close to him.
He should be in the top 3 head.
I know Ryan Day's resume obviously is really, really good, with the exception of being able to beat Michigan. But Ryan Day was also handed, one of the best job in college football when
standing on third, thinking he hit a triple.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, gentlemen, I think we've more than went past the time here. So those of you have stayed with us, I appreciate it. Brandon, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Great show. Great show.
Thanks for everyone.
Great show. And he didn't mention hockey once, so that's awesome. But no, we'll have to get you back here on a hockey episode and
most definitely
educate us, because good things are coming out of Detroit, if I'm not mistaken.
1-1 right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Won our home opener last night.
There you go. So we might in 2K Crew, big announcement coming next week. I'm going to say it's not quite official yet. No. But next week, big announcement. So stay tuned for that.
I'll be at work, but I will check in though.
Hey, just don't get in trouble while you're checking in.
Oh, I won't.
And Andrew, we will be getting to your. He said, "Dude, how about the Eagles and 49ers both taking an L today?" We will talk about that next week. And if you're the one smoking wings, why have you not called me? Why have you not called me? Smoked wings are the best wings, you asshole. So we're gonna get you out of here on that. Everyone have a great week, and as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.